we walk out of headquarters to the police car, and we have to tell the dispatcher, what car we're in and what area of the city we're working. So we do that, and immediately, as soon as we tell them that we're signed on for duty, they send us to a job in the neighborhood where I grew up, right around the block from where I grew up, on a DOA. I said to the two veteran cops, did she say DOA, like dead on arrival?
Welcome everyone to Proof to Me that You're Alive. Today I have a super special guest. Peter, do you mind if I do a little intro?
Sure, go right ahead.
So, when I was a kid in 1989, mind you, this was the Soviet Union, my mom came to the US for a few months. When she came back, she couldn't stop raving about this super cool kid. I think he was a teenager at the time, Peter. And Peter became a living legend in my house for the next 7 years until I finally came to America. Peter was just a living legend. When I came, I finally met Peter. He showed me a bulletproof vest and a gun and everything. And it just blew my mind. And then for the rest of my life, even though we were estranged, Peter kept being a living legend. So today we have the living legend, the man himself, Peter, man.
Thank you.
How you doing, Peter?
I am doing great. Thank you for that amazing introduction. And I never knew any of that until last year when we were out to dinner together, and you mentioned that. I never knew.
Sometimes you don't know the impact that you might have on someone, man. Like
Yeah.
even broadly, man. So thank you so much. You didn't have to do this, but you did this. And when I started my whole journey with my channel and everything, I always had a personal mission behind. And I think that the state of policing in this country today, this country which I love, I became an American. I wasn't born an American, and I absolutely love this country. And I think we need to start bridging the gap. And you, a decorated police officer, maybe you're going to help us out today to kind of clear out some issues and everything. I always like to bring the human being out. So, Peter, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, where you from? What kind of police, like, because I'm very bad with rankings. Like, what kind of ranking as a police officer you had, how long you've been a police officer, like things like that.
Sure, yeah. I was born in Trenton, New Jersey, born and raised here. Spent a little bit of time in my early years in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and Indianapolis, Indiana, but always ended up back here in Trenton, New Jersey. So when I graduated high school and didn't really have a direction on what I wanted to do in life, a friend of mine had already become a Trenton police officer, and I was enrolled at Mercer County College for business administration, and decided to change my major over to criminal justice. And when I did that, I just kind of found my niche in life. Everything that I was learning at school related to criminal justice just made sense to me. I just understood it. So after I graduated Mercer County College, I was able to get hired by the Trenton Police Department, and I ended up spending 26 years working as a Trenton police officer. Everybody starts as a patrol officer. That's the lowest rank. That's the cop who shows up at your door when you call 911. In uniform, marked police car. I spent most of my career in patrol. I was able to get promoted pretty early in my career. I was promoted to sergeant with just under 5 years on the job, which is pretty quick. So I spent a number of years as a sergeant. So sergeant's like a first line supervisor, right? I had anywhere from 5 to about 15 police officers reporting to me throughout one particular shift. Um, and just kind of continued in that path. I loved um, the uniform and the marked car and driving what we call Code 3 to, hot jobs. Um, so I kind of stayed in patrol for a lot of my career. I was able to get promoted to lieutenant eventually, and then to captain toward the end of my career. Um, for about the last 7 years of my career, I was in administrative positions in the department. So a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, training, what we call support services, so cars and equipment and computer technology and things like that. Eventually, when I got promoted to captain in 2020, right around the time COVID was kind of hitting hard. No, actually, it was the end of 2019. I got promoted to captain. I ended up working in the police director's office. So, just a quick aside: Trenton, for years, had ranks up to and including chief. And then back in 2000, our rank structure changed significantly. So we ended up with patrolman, sergeant, lieutenant, and captain. So in the Trenton Police Department, captain is the highest rank. I ended up getting promoted to captain in 2019 and working for the police director. So she was a civilian who had a career with the Newark Police Department and then was hired by Trenton to run the Trenton Police Department. So ultimately, I was the highest ranked police officer in Trenton, working for the civilian police director, making
That's awesome, man.
that her vision for the department was implemented throughout.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Thank
Uh,
you.
I think for the basis of the conversation, and I think this is very important. I think a lot of people don't talk about this. How was your childhood? What kind would you say you had a a happy childhood, a dramatic traumatic childhood? Like what was your childhood like?
Nah, man, I had a great childhood. Growing up in Trenton at the time, Trenton has a pretty bad rap now for a lot of crime. At the time, the area of Trenton I grew up, we call it South Trenton, was ideal. A lot of kids my age, safe to go out and play. So every day I was out skateboarding or playing baseball or just having fun with neighborhood kids. My family. You mentioned, I think it was before we started recording, you mentioned how much you love this country and you came to this country and became a true American here. Um, I'm like the luckiest guy in the world. So not only was I born here, but I was born to two parents who just loved me and supported me in everything I did. So I'm really the luckiest guy in the world in that sense.
Thank God, man. Thank God. I really want to commend you the fact that you acknowledge these things. You know, a lot of people tend to go on with their life and not acknowledge these things. So thank you for even sharing that moment. Yeah, I can't stop saying how much I'm proud to be an American, man. When you were a kid, like when you were a teenager, did you ever notice after, like, now looking back, did you ever notice that you had this sense of justice behind you, like?
Yeah, yeah. I know exactly what you're saying. And yeah, um, I didn't know until after high school that becoming a police officer was basically what I was destined to do. It was just it's kind of, they say it's a calling,
Mhm.
and it really is. I really, like I said, once I found that niche, I was really comfortable with everything about it. Um, so yeah, I guess looking back, I always kind of had that sense of justice, as you say, in me. I can't really even think of an example, but yeah, it was definitely there.
I want to thank real quickly everyone that had a hand in raising you. That had a hand. If like some sort of an effect on your life that they helped raise this wonderful human being. You mentioned that. So you graduated high school at what? At 18?
Yeah, I was just shy of 18. I was still 17. It was 1991.
Okay, so you're 18. And then you said you go to college for criminal justice.
I actually started at business administration because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And
Okay.
a year into it, switched over to criminal justice.
So you mentioned that when you were a teenager, Trenton was a safe place because now when we look at some of the most dangerous cities, like even in New Jersey, Trenton is always in the top 10 list.
Certainly. Yeah, so I'm sure there were dangerous areas of Trenton. Um, there were a lot of safe areas though, and where I grew up was safe. I don't ever remember a shooting or a stabbing or a robbery or even drug dealing. That if I drive down the street that I grew up on, I could see open air drug dealing right on the corner where I hung out. Throughout my career, I ended up patrolling those areas and made gun arrests, gotten foot chases for robberies, but that didn't exist in that neighborhood when I was growing up there in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, that's my mom told me the same thing when she came back because it was obviously in 1989. So when we came back in 96, she said that Trenton itself drastically changed. So for all of those young people out there that might want to become a police officer, so you're in college, you don't know what you want to do. You took business administration, and then some sort of a divine intervention, your friend, right?
Yeah.
uh, so he already became a police officer at that time.
Yeah, he was a few years older than me and had become a police officer about 2 years prior to that.
So what's running through your head when he did he offer you this, or you kind of like started questioning, should I do this?
No, we were friends. We grew up in the same neighborhood, and he would just tell me the stories about all the action, which sounded very exciting at 19, 20, 21 years old. He was making good money for somebody without a college degree. It just sounded like it was a nice fit for me. And I should mention also when I switched my major over to criminal justice at Mercer, I ended up taking a business. No, you know what? This was still when I was in business administration. I took a business law class, and the professor was a Trenton Municipal Court judge,
Oh wow.
also, professor at Mercer. So we started the class with some basic law, some constitutional law, things that I really enjoyed, really made sense to me. And then we got into the business law, and that was kind of boring. So I also talked to her a lot about, changing my major and the idea of becoming a police officer. And she was a strong influence on me too. Judge Carmen Garcia was her name, and
Shout out to Judge Garcia, man.
she was she was good. She was a real strong influence. But it was my friend. His name coincidentally is also Pete, who was a police officer already, who definitely guided me in the right direction and helped me understand what I needed to do to become a police officer and the kind of things that I would be looking at once I became a police officer.
So the reason I asked is, looking back now, how important was it for you to get that criminal justice education?
It was important. It was more important to broaden my understanding of law enforcement and really the world, right? It wasn't necessary to become a police officer in New Jersey, particularly under the civil service rules and laws. It wasn't required by the Trenton Police Department. It wasn't. It didn't helped me throughout my career as far as advancement goes. But it broadened my understanding of my small little world into something bigger. So I think, sorry about that. I think that even if it's something that's not required by the career you choose, um, it's helpful just to broaden your horizons.
As far as law even goes, right?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I learned things in, just the few years I spent at Mercer that weren't taught in the police academy. I mean, just about law. So I ended up graduating the police academy. I'm sorry, graduating Mercer and starting the police academy in the same week, just
Oh
pure.
wow.
So when I was going through the police academy, I was learning things along with my fellow classmates that I just learned over the past 2 years at Mercer, and I learned them more in depth at Mercer, and I learned a broader variety of things than I did in the police academy, simply because of time constraints. The police
Mhm.
is a set amount of time, and you have to get certain requirements in there, and that's that. So I feel like because of the timing of going right from Mercer to the police academy, I had a more of a wider, broader understanding of a lot of the topics we were learning than some of my classmates did.
So basically, my question is, in order to be a good police officer, you don't necessarily have to have that education, that degree in criminal justice per se, right?
Absolutely not. Some of the best cops I know, and I don't mean just like they're good at arresting people. They're broadly good cops, right? They know how to de-escalate a situation. They know how to interact with people. Some of the best have nothing more than a GED or a high school education. Um, the police world is primarily about human interaction. um, when it comes down to it, if you have to arrest somebody, you have to, but it's about that human interaction. um, you know this is a little off topic, but not completely. I don't love the new look that cops have, right, with that exterior tactical vest. I feel like when somebody calls 911, they want a professional police officer to show up at the door, not a soldier. And I feel like
Mm.
that look that we have now is very militarized. uh,
Wow.
so that right off the bat kind of sets a tone for the human interaction you're going to have with the person you're dealing with, and that's really what you're looking for the entire time is how you and this other person you're dealing with, whether it's a victim or a suspect or an arrestee, are going to interact with each other.
You just said some very important things, and we're gonna pick up on it a little later. And you also mentioned de-escalation, which I think I don't know, but I think that training itself is extremely important for police officers. So you said, so you graduated with your criminal justice degree. You said within a week you are thrusted into the police academy,
Yeah,
correct?
same week. Yep. Yeah, I actually started the police academy on Monday and had my official graduation from Mercer County College on Wednesday.
So how does this happen? Are you excited? Like, are you ready to go? Are you ready to get your feet on the ground? And
100%. The police academy was 5 months at that time. So, yeah, I mean, I was just champing at the bit to get out there and start patrolling and uh, doing everything that's involved in the police work.
for someone ignorant like me, as far as the police academy goes, what does the police academy look like? What do you guys cover? What do you train? Like, what does the 5 months entail?
Yeah, so every day is the same and every day is different, right? Because every day it's very militarized, right? So you're lining up in the morning in a formation. Um, you're going to have a uniform inspection. No matter how perfect you think you are, the instructors are going to find some problem that makes everybody start over or do push-ups or some kind of physical activity. Every day you have physical fitness, right? Whether it's running or defensive tactics or just regular calisthenics. Um, I'm not in the best shape of my life now by any means, but it's important to be in good physical condition as a police officer, just for your own safety, let alone the safety of your coworkers and even the citizens. So that's where it's the same every day, right? You have that militarized feel. You have the physical fitness standards every day. Where it's different every day is what you're learning. So at the beginning of the academy, you basically get a syllabus of what you're going to be learning throughout the academy, and it's everything from basic constitutional law, right? So that we understand when we take that oath to protect the Constitution and the citizens, we know that hey, the citizens have rights, right? Like the Constitution of the United States is unique in that it tells the government what they can't do, right? Um, or at least the Bill of Rights does. So we learn about those constitutional rights so that we hopefully don't violate those rights throughout our career. I say hopefully because obviously sometimes it happens. It's not right, and the officers, should suffer consequences at that. But we learn, those basics, and then we go into in New Jersey, New Jersey criminal law, right? Obviously, each state has its own criminal laws, and they might all be similar, but they all are worded a little different. They all have different statute numbers. So we learn about the criminal laws in New Jersey, particularly the ones that we're going to be most likely to deal with on a regular basis.
So while you're physically, I wasn't aware of that. I mean, it obviously it makes sense, but while you're physically training, you're also covering the education, covering the constitutional laws and everything like that. So let's say a few months in, are you changing your mind at this point? Like, are you like, man, I don't want to do this. I'm getting beat up. Like, what was your state of mind at that point?
Man, exactly opposite of that. It couldn't have been more motivating. I absolutely loved the police academy, loved my instructors. None of them were easy by any means, but looking back, it was all for a purpose. Um, yeah, it motivated me 110% that I was in the right business and the right direction and going to make a career out of this.
So at that point, basically, you're realizing like, wow, like this is exactly what I want to do. I think that's very important to being a police officer. Just a side note, I always said that police officers are very underappreciated. Now we do see a lot of also problems with the policing nowadays, but when you have someone that goes out there on a daily basis and they're risking their life, to protect you and to protect others, I think this that kind of a career, it's it has to be appreciated more. So what does the graduation of the police academy look like, is it like what we see in the movies, man?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty similar. Everybody from the academy is there in their full dress uniform. They invite family and friends, and it's very ceremonial. You come up one at a time to receive your certificate. Lots of pictures, lots of celebration. Yeah, it's very much like you would see in a movie.
Yeah, I hope you don't mind me asking all these questions, because I really think that it's important for all of us to realize that police officers are very much human beings and
Yes, yes,
they go through normal human being emotions and feelings and things like that. So, if my questions seem weird, trust me, there's a meaning behind it. Um okay, so you graduate, you are now a patrol officer, I think you said. Is that
yeah, yep.
okay? So, what does your first day on the job look like? Do you get a car? Do you get a gun? Like, do you get a machine gun? Like, what does that look like, man?
Now, so you get a handgun issued to you before you graduate while you're still in the police academy. So my first day on the job was was a bit unique for the police experience. Uh, you start off in roll call. We call it roll call. Like different departments call it different things. We start off in roll call. So I'm in a room with, I guess there was probably about 25 cops at that point working the street during the day. I was on day shift actually for the first few months. Like we had such a big graduating class that we were spread out on different shifts throughout the department, and I ended up on day shift for a couple of months. So I'm in a room with, like I said, about 25 veteran seasoned officers. The shifts are based on seniority, so all the cops on day shift have 20, 25, 30 years on. um, I sit down. I'm waiting for the sergeant to conduct roll call to tell all the officers where they're working, what cars